The story originates from the demonstration of several girls who are actively discussing a certain young gentleman who is currently training at the training ground with a group of knights. Next, we are shown the inner monologue of the main character named Erun, who says that he will never miss his chance again. The main character's reasoning is transferred to the past, which is also the future. The 33-year-old protagonist is tortured and at the same time treated with potions so that he does not die prematurely. All this happens under his reflections that in his life he has not really achieved anything, unlike his great father and grandfather, who stood at the top of this world. He himself, in turn, was only a pathetic duke, who also managed to exchange absolutely everything he had. However, he did not exchange it for simple merchants, but for a certain book of measurements, from which the bookmark of desires falls out, which, judging by its name, can fulfill any desires. And at the moment when life in it has already begun to fade completely, the bookmark began to emit a mysterious glow, and performs the last one that married its owner, namely, to transfer it to the past, thereby giving a chance to correct all his mistakes that he had made earlier. The next moment we see Erun approaching the gymnasium, where a large number of knights train. He denotes to himself that he devalued and ignored them. Finishing his thoughts, the captain of the guard calls out to him, reacting negatively to the lateness of the main character, indicating that training will be more difficult for his slowness. He points out a huge amount of exercises, surprised at the boy's easy consent, because earlier he would have tried to escape by skipping training. The hero himself reflects that there is no past of his. He will not repeat his mistakes again. He is full of motivation to change his future. Nothing has changed here. The only thing that's changed is me. Everything is in my hands. I will try my best to improve my skills. Next, we are shown how the captain looks at the practicing protagonist, surprised at his perseverance. Erun himself is proud of the hard work he has done, concentrating his thoughts on the future, developing a training plan. Being in his thoughts, he receives an unknown notification. Not knowing what it is, he is very surprised, managing to get scared. His condition is noticed by the captain of the guard, whom Erun asks if he sees a floating thing, which the man refutes without even understanding what he is talking about, pushing it all down to fatigue. Erun realizes that only he sees this sign, and at the same moment accepts the invitation to trade. He is surprised that an ordinary book has somehow become a deal with dimensions. Stuck in his thoughts, the hero is hailed by the captain of the Knight's Guard, worried about his condition. Erun himself calms the man, who is surprised by his abrupt change of character. Entering his house, he encounters the butler, who notices a strange flame in the eyes of the protagonist, which Erun is surprised at and simply dissuades, referring to the manifestation of mana. After entering his room, he receives a notification. Without the option of cancellation, agreeing, he logs into the account, starting everything from the zero process. Considering some of the properties of the account, he is surprised by the coins, thinking about the reason for their appearance. The next moment, we are moved forward a week. At the moment, Erun is going to fight with one of the knights. The captain sets certain limits, which the hero discards, telling the man to fight him with all his might. All the knights are surprised by the skills of their young master. Using all his strength, Erun defeats his opponent. Despite the use of magic, he still lost. Everyone is surprised at this. It takes us back a week. The protagonist is trying to figure out how to use the spatial book more profitably. After analyzing everything, the most important thing he found was currency exchange. After weighing a certain amount of real gold, he was able to get a certain amount of coins, being surprised at a slightly higher rate compared to his previous life. Having come up with the perfect plan, Erun is going to make money by selling goods at exorbitant prices. Studying all the nuances of the sale, he finds a seller of mana crystals that he will need during his training. Talking to the seller, he finds out that he doubled the usual price by manipulating him. The hero buys mana crystals, again surprised. After completing the transaction, he receives a cashback notification. He pays attention to the fact that this is a VIP privilege, but quickly forgets about it, focusing all his attention on mana crystals. The following tells about the heavy training of the breathing method, which he inherited from his grandfather, but still he could, which he is very proud of. Now we return to the present time, when Erun defeated the knight. No one believes in his victory, as a result of which he calls another knight to sparring. At this moment his older sister comes to the training ground, who also witnesses the battle. Erun wins, for which his sister says she underestimated him. The sister apologizes to him, actually worried about her brother, also assuming that it took him a lot of effort to get ahead. The protagonist says that it turns out that all the efforts made and all the sparring were in order to get her approval. We are transported to the evening, during a family dinner, introducing us to all the relatives. Erun is recognized by his father, having conducted a small test by checking mana. Seeing what his son has achieved, he offers him a reward. The hero asks to take only one thing from the storage. Erun was going to pick up the spatial book, but not finding it, he chose a golden statuette. The father is surprised by Erun's choice. In response to this, the hero refers to the necessary financial support, saying that this will help save him time. Later, the protagonist identifies two options for the loss of the book. The first was that the book itself moved, and the other is that someone is already using the book. Both of these options can be effective, but the main character does not bother much about this, rejoicing that at least he managed to capture the golden statue. Next, Erun explains that he is still a VIP. Not believing this, he presses some button for curiosity, after which a lot of characteristics appear, thanks to which he received all the various discounts or advantages in trading. He is very happy with the current situation, because then survival will be much easier. The next moment, the hero weighs the golden statuette, taking advantage of the privileges, realizing that the book he was looking for is in his eye, but again does not worry much about it, thinking about the next sales. Just at this moment, he gets a mana crystal seller. On the other side of the book sat a rather solid man several times older than Erun. He was very angry when he saw that he was called a fraudster and wondered who dared to address him like that. Perhaps it was just calculated. Erun will turn to this person so that he will answer him exactly. But then a man named Heartstone realized what was the matter. It was his very buyer. Erun turned to him again in order to buy mana stones and preferably at the same price as last time. But he replied that it was a special concession and this is not expected anymore. Erun was very smart and experienced in trading, so he kept the previous dialogue as proof, and Heartstone had no way to get out of selling the goods at the previous price. Naturally, in such cases, every seller would get angry, and this one is no exception. Having thought about the fact that he can only be temporarily blocked from complaining. But if we talk about losses over these few days, it will probably be easier to sell him cheaper. Erun at this time was thinking about how it is possible to be so petty, having almost 10,000 coins on the balance. Immediately comes the question of how many stones would like to purchase. Since Erun was buying them, especially if it was a very favorable price, he asked to sell him everything that was available. That is, 25 pieces of medium and 20 pieces of small. As a result, the cashback from the transaction was 40.5 coins, and 270 coins were spent in total. It turns out that he bought medium stones for 10 coins and small ones for 2.5 apiece. He will sell them for 12 medium coins and 3 for small ones. It turned out to be quite a bargain. This is the most basic scheme of all. You buy cheap and sell more expensive. At the same time, a mess was going on in Heartstone's room. A hookah was lying on the floor and it was unknown what he was doing there. Here we can observe how Heartstone was seized with anger. He saw Erun's ad, with the same product that he had just sold to him, with several times more expensive. He was outraged that this kid was unscrupulous. He could at least put an ad in another channel, for the sake of respect. Erun slept peacefully, suspecting nothing, but of course he woke up from so many messages. In 3 years of doing deals, he has learned how to behave with such personalities who raise their voices. Erun insulted Heartstone so skillfully that one could only envy this skill. After long and loud conversations, they did not come to anything in common and simply closed the deal completely. Erun did not lose the opportunity and asked if he wanted to make a deal again. Heartstone refused at all. Under no circumstances would he sell the goods to such a vile person anymore. Although for guys like Heartstone, money is both religion and faith. Erun is a great judge of people, and he knew what to put pressure on to persuade him to sell him stones. Simply put, in this situation, a person will simply do everything for his own benefit. So Erun put pressure on this. Will emotions really be able to prevent receiving money? Heartstone recognized Erun's rightness and immediately asked what the market price was. It was the same price at which Erun himself actually sells. The guy wanted to buy 50 medium and 19 small stones. But there were not so many goods and he had to buy several times less. In any case, it's good for him because he can sell them even cheaper. Erun immediately put up an ad and Heartstone was impressed by such impudence and in general. What's the point? If you sell so cheap, you can go bankrupt soon. But for VIP persons, everything is completely changing. They don't have a commission. Therefore, even if you reduce the price by another 25%, it will still be in the black. There is also a very high demand for mana stones and a free restriction on sale. Erun didn't want to waste a minute and said he didn't want to continue this pointless argument. It was better to start earning money. While he had the stones with him, Erun decided to take full advantage of this, for example, to recharge himself from them, as well as to take care of his body. Because before you go there, you need to remove all your shortcomings and stagnations in order to simply survive. In general, the time has already come for calculations, that is, the price reduction for medium stones to 9.5 coins. This is a very effective way, and transactions were completed one after another. Although in a previous life, when Erun was in the county, he devoted his first year there entirely and did not want to repeat the same mistakes in this life. His progress was visible on his face. After 8 days, he began to make transactions through changes. Although owning a Steelguard, it took a whole year. Now he has fulfilled his goal for deals and got the first level. having successfully moved to system number 1. Even more exciting challenges awaited him. Erun had a privilege called Mir Mirim, which meant that he switched to the system number 1. The speed of mastering new skills will be increased. After that, he decided to test his strength together with his other ability called the Eye of Insight. It gave him the opportunity to view information about those people with whom he trades, as well as the report of the exchange center. But for some reason, this opportunity did not work for him. There were a lot of questions to the staff from the center. Apparently, all these privileges begin to activate with the increase in the level. A bunch of windows are displayed in front of Erun, in which stocks are indicated. There are so many of them that it cannot seem suspicious. Discounts depend on the market price, as well as the absence of commission due to its privileges. And you also need to make a payment for participation in the event. Suddenly, congratulations on the transition to a new level are displayed on the screen. It was sent something like customer care, and they also provided some kind of shower thing as a reward. An item in the form of a drop, martial arts and 500 coins. The guy was most interested in a gift in the form of martial arts, maximum body and sword stealth. This ability was absorbed into him barely he had time to touch, which means that now the speed of his perception has increased several times. But there is one caveat. This ability uses mana as fuel, and in the previous system in which it used internal energy. Although the new privilege is compatible with the mana core and you still need to expand your horizons and try something new. He realized that this way the skill becomes much more refined and he can master several new techniques in just a few minutes. It's amazing. He also wondered about the new system. Is there any limit in spatial trading? Erun can buy anything he wants, even abstract values, so coins need to be used very carefully and rationally. It was time to make the first trial purchase in this system. Erun found a spatial exchange merchant. He needed martial arts scrolls. The seller was quite strange, too polite, and was very hypocritical. In general, they had a bad opinion of each other, but everyone was only interested in the benefits. Erun was interested in sword techniques. The seller had even more than necessary. For example, triple sword techniques. Erun was quite satisfied with the variations of goods in this store and he wanted to buy. The merchant's task was to sell random cheap scrolls at an inflated price. I told Erun that this scroll chooses people of System 0 who dream of martial arts of System 1. In general, those who were a real weakling in a previous life. This is all done so that a person could feel powerful at least for a while. In general, all this exactly suited Erun. The kid realized, it's just marketing tricks and he fell for it. How could you do such a stupid thing? He acquired the simplest technique, consisting of 3 movements. Knowing perfectly well that this is a weak skill, the trader offers a lot of additional techniques in order to profit. And of course, the crown offer for 20 coins, advice on which martial art is best to take. Erun agrees, although a couple of hours ago he promised himself to take care of the coins like the apple of his eye. Next, we can observe the 5th world of Mirim, the mountain bamboo sect. There was clearly some kind of alarming situation. Everyone was calling the leader Juseng-ha. As it turned out, a certain bastard Kochkol Lee was found, and Erun found him. The leader, of course, first of all asked what kind of source. How did they find this bastard? His assistant manager began to question Erun, but as we can already understand, this is quite an unusual character and he said that he could not answer all the questions at once yet. At first, he set a condition that if he took care of their enemy Kochkol Lee, he would absolutely receive some kind of reward. The leader said that he did not believe the usual words and that suddenly he would cheat. Erun was very calm. If they don't believe him, then in general it doesn't matter, then he will release Kochkol Lee. The leader reacted to such words even more emotionally than the vulgar time and was already bursting with anger. Erun asked to take a look at his information so that the leader would make sure that he was not a fraud. He saw there that the guy was from the lower system and was aware of all the secret techniques. It was likely that Kochkol Lee had told him about them. In fact, it became clear that he was also trading. For the help, the leader decided to allocate Erun 200 coins. He even spat out his drink in surprise. It was quite a lot for him because he just wanted to recapture what he had lost from that rogue trader. However, if he catches Kochkol Lee, he will get much more, but on the other hand, he can also let him go. In any case, Erun wanted to go to this level, primarily because of Seok Hyen. He is a first-class seller of martial arts scrolls. He was looking for him only to take revenge, because this is a complete humiliation and disrespect. You have to pay for this, perhaps even with your worthless life. He accepted the request for correspondence, and when Erun said that he was from Mu Hyukja, Seok Hyen immediately became more open towards him because he understood that this person already knows enough about him, based on logic. Erun told about a certain fraudster on the market who resold stolen information from the library at a high price to those who had only recently arrived from the system. Seok Hyen was very surprised. What kind of dumbass will fall for this deception? Erun felt uneasy. He still fell for this bait. Then the guy clarified if he really didn't need to worry that someone would deceive him now. The merchant certainly reacted badly and said that he shouldn't dare to compare him with that deceiver. Erun apologized and asked to show the sword techniques that are in the assortment. Immediately, the seller advised him the technique of Plum Blossom. It is quite powerful, as well as the higher the skill, the deeper the smell. The market price was 50 coins, but Xiao Kaiyan decided to make a discount and give it for 35. It's still a new buyer. Erun immediately guessed that something was wrong here. He was 100% a fraud, and also so arrogant. Overstates the price by 3 times. After the guy bought the material from him, the merchant immediately began to smile and flatter very playfully, as well as to extract personal information about where he earns so much. Erun proudly replied that he also earns money in this area, and most likely now they will often overlap. Xiao Kaiyan pretended to be pleasantly surprised. But deep down it wasn't like that at all. He just thought that Erun was a fool, since he didn't even know what the market price of the product he had just bought. The seller did not even realize that the guy knows everything and just checks it. When Erun returned, he was very angry and wanted to take revenge as soon as possible. At this inopportune moment Isil came. She was able to catch Ern's red eye. Of course he pretended that everything was fine. Isel blushed with embarrassment at the sight of the young master, who instantly noticed it and was glad to assume that she saw a real man in him. But she just wanted to clarify what was there about the case with Kieran. It was Ern's brother. He was quite quiet and always trained away from others. Everyone thought that he was so stylish that he simply had no equal among other students. But his brother Erun, no one missed the opportunity to play a joke, and this time calling him a shy child, grabbed him hard enough for such words. Erun did not expect such a powerful force from his brother at all. Is a knight of the 5th class capable of such a thing? And here the aura comes into play. According to the rules, it should only be for knights of the 2nd class, but somehow miraculously my brother also had it. He decided to take revenge in full. There was only one blow, and that was the end of the fight. The older brother was amazed by Ern's strength, so it was from the internal storage. His blow was called the Destroying Stone. In fact, all this hostility was due to the fact that the elder brother did not have the opportunity to get there. How can this be? The father and younger brother were there, and he is the only one from the family who did not have the opportunity to visit there. At this point, Erun was clearly dumbfounded, since his blow was taken completely from there and he was not there. But his brother had not yet admitted this. It was necessary to check everything, at least whether his existence was real. Isil asked the young gentleman if he was badly injured during a fight with his brother, suddenly needed her help. But when she saw Erun smiling and with a naked hummock, she realized that she was worried in vain. He was already quite an adult. Isil was ordered to go to rest, and the young gentleman drank a restorative pill and began to think about how he could still get into the internal storage. In any case, it must be done before the academy begins. Meanwhile, his older brother and sister Darren were actively discussing Erun. He caused a huge shame towards his older brother. At first he looked weak, and then abruptly showed that he could fight back. But the older brother was scared that he did not even show his strength in full force. She and her sister decided by all means to beat out of Erun all the information that he dares to hide. Darren said that she would closely deal with this case. And in parallel, other haters of the young count discussed how to take revenge on him. The alliance of Mana merchants was very unhappy, because in just 2 days he took over the entire market with a lot of losses. We need to fight this urgently. They decided to develop some kind of plan to catch the opponent. So, there has already been a drop in prices for 1 coin on the market. All mana crystals have been affected. Everything was going according to Ern's plan. Prices fell even faster than he had imagined. Destructive competition began. Other merchants were angry and also lowered their prices in order to at least somehow make money. But for Erun, all this was not a problem, because thanks to his VIP privileges, he did not go into the negative and earn great money. He had 1,002 coins in his account and could afford to upgrade his inventory. But the young count had more important things to do than that. He really wanted to get into the system alone, for revenge on the bastard Sohei. When he came to the partner market in search of a medium-level sword technique, he met the librarian Jinsang, who gave him a couple of practical tips. Erun thought for a while and asked to be given something more powerful and expensive. For this he was offered the unique skill of the Castle of 1,000 Swords. But how can this be? Because the Castle of the 5 Swords is a sect that has a huge influence. This skill is passed only there. In general, Erun had one important request to the assistant librarian. He wanted to find 2 books called The 8 Martial Arts of the Cloud Dragon and The Technique of the Green Cloud and the Scarlet Dawn. They got him right the next day. But the librarian used to have a whole team, so the books were delivered in the shortest possible time. Erun also wanted to buy something unusual for his rich teacher Half-Ale. But since ordinary martial arts books no longer impress him, he wants to give something unusual. The librarian's assistant was interested in what is it. As it turned out, he wanted the completed unique skill of the Castle of 1,000 Swords. Oh, it was a difficult task, but for good money the assistant from the library agreed to do it. The main thing of course is not to catch the head librarian's eye. Erun secretly asked the chief what would happen if this book got out of the library, and the answer was unequivocal: death. The next morning, Erun woke up with the realization that he owed 1,000 coins to Sohin. Well, in 5 days from his daily reward, this amount will just turn out. Meanwhile, from idleness, he decided to go for a walk, as well as check the prices of crystals on the market. As it turned out, those that were of average quality fell even more in price, and Erun decided to buy from one merchant in bulk. He aggressively sent him very far away. He decided to try to ask for another one and stepped on the same rake. And all because all these people were from the same alliance, who were against Erun and considered him their sworn enemy. The young count decided to take a little walk and think over his further actions. And then, walking along the path, he notices 2 girls standing behind a tree. It was Isil and Darren. Apparently she wanted to get information about Erun from her. She did it very cruelly, was rude and beat the maid. It was not for nothing that all the servants were afraid of Darren. There is also another sister named Karen, but everyone loved and respected her very much. In general, these sisters are complete opposites to each other. Poor Isel explained that she knew absolutely nothing. Her duty was only to take care of the young count. By the way, he intervenes in their fight at the same moment and asks his sister to immediately move away from his maid. Darren apparently doesn't take anyone seriously and tells his younger brother not to interfere. This rude sister told him that she was just teaching Isel how to do her job properly and he should be grateful to her. Then she swung at the maid again, but this time Erun stopped her hand and threw it against the tree with all his strength. "How dare he touch me?" shouted Darren. She immediately suspected that there was some kind of love relationship between them. To be honest, from the outside it really seems that there is a spark between them. But we can't know for sure, so we will see the development of their relationship in the future. Erun ordered an immediate apology to Isel. My sister was just shocked, and threatened Erun to complain to his father about him. How will he react if I come to him like this and tell him that his youngest son beat me up? Erun simply told her not to touch his people in the future, and if she suddenly tells her father everything, he will also be able to tell him about some of her secrets. As a result, Darren admitted her guilt and apologized. Isel was touched by the fact that the young count stood up for her and said that he would protect her even from the emperor himself, because he would never allow his people to be offended. So, Darren came to the leader of the alliance, which was assembled in order to remove Erun from the market. She said that somehow he found out everything. It was quite obvious to himself, because after everyone denied him mana crystals, he suspected something was wrong. But someone still sold them to him, perhaps someone who needed coins very urgently right now. It was necessary to do something immediately. There were 2 options to choose from. The first was to buy everything completely before others did it, and the second was to lower the price of crystals even more. All members of the alliance immediately lowered the price, and because of this, strong quarrels began between buyers. Someone borrowed, and someone even sold the house to buy cheaper. Everything was going exactly as Erun had planned for himself. The leader was shocked by such a hype. He shouted at his secret assistant, because on the contrary it would bring success to Erun, and they want to remove him. The anonymous assistant replied quite calmly that everything was going as it should, and if the alliance trusted him, they would benefit in the end. Now they have started trying to unravel Erun's mysterious plan and have come to the conclusion that if the alliance drops the price of crystals by 1 coin, then it is by 2. Now he has reached his maximum and cannot continue to throw off. According to all analytics, Erun has clearly gone into negative territory, but why would he do all this? To take over the entire market, his secret assistant answered the leader. But he will not be able to turn everything from one account. There is a sales limit. In this case, he can hire assistants and trade his coins through them. Or he wants to create his own alliance and become its head to control sellers and prices in the market. Isn't that why you became the boss in your alliance? The anonymous assistant asks. The leader did not hear anything, except that he was called the boss. Oh, this pride will not bring him to good. Erun was watching all this. As it turns out, he was the anonymous assistant and saw through the leader. He pulled off this adventure quite simply. With the help of the information asymmetry function, this is in his privileges. He knew about the alliance from the very beginning. Erun deliberately created competitors in order to make money on them as a result. There are only 2 types of people, those who want fast money and madmen who love risk and schemes. Hearthstone was inspired to stop Erun as soon as possible and was sure that he knew all his subsequent actions, as he considered them predictable and did not even realize that he was very close among them. Erun's first step was just to let Hearthstone think that he was the most important and that he would control the entire crystal market, and if some merchant interfered with them, they would immediately destroy him. All other participants, just watching the whole incredible battle of the Alliance in a run for leadership, they don't even know about anything. They plan to take all the crystals for themselves with the help of a third party. And this magnificent plan was invented by none other than me, Erun. Now he has come to deal with his older sister Darren. All this time she was sitting and thought about how this little brother found out about the company, even said the name Damien. He knocked on her door and decided that they should talk about it all. This company provides houses with everything you need inside. The problem was that the firm used investment money to demand the same relationship. These changes appeared when your sister joined there, so everything is too obvious. Darren began to get very nervous, because if all her dark deeds were revealed, she would be left with nothing. Erun is the youngest son and he understands that he will not get anything from the family, but how the older sister will continue to live is already a question. In short, Erun is just blackmailing her. Darren Na is so simple and has a strong temper, so she will not allow herself to be manipulated. Erun was only interested in one question: did she bribe the firm first or did she ask for help? The sister replied that the firm had found her herself. Of course it was a pure lie. Such a large firm would not look for someone by itself. In general, closer to the point, Erun suggested that she work together, because they were in the same boat anyway, if you judge it that way. The young count did not have a strong desire to work together with his sister, so this arrangement is full of lies and doubts, but for now it will have to be done. All for the sake of coping with Hearthstone. When Erun was walking from his sister, he received a message: you received 800 coins from the Bamboo Mountain sect, which meant that they had caught Hakal Lee. They also sent a pill of life as a gift, which is not a bad thing. While Erun was doing just fine, while he was cheating Hearthstone, in parallel, they bought a bunch of coins from him. He was incredibly rich. That same night, an unexpected guest named Yulaf showed up at Damien's firm. Miss Darren and Sir Damien met him, although she was completely unaware of who it was. It was obvious from her appearance that she was suspicious of their late guest. Suddenly it was some kind of trap, but Erun convinced her that this seller could be trusted. Yulaf decided to get straight to the point and asked how much they were willing to pay for the crystals. He certainly showed them so that they would be convinced of the quality. Disguised Erun, that is, Yulaf was completely unlike himself. He achieved all this with the help of a mask made of human skin and a pill that changes the voice. Bidding began. Yulaf asked for 100 gold, but Damien said he would take it for 90 and other firms would not offer him more. At that moment, Yulaf got up and began to get dressed, and also handed Darren's coat. He said that he saw no point in haggling with those who didn't understand a damn thing about the product. His sister aptly supported his phrase. They had already started discussing another firm, when Damien jumped up from his chair and said that he agreed to 100, but Yulaf had already asked for 120 gold for each gem. Their negotiations went on for quite a long time, but Erun stood his ground and as a result they agreed even for 130 zloty. Damien has already put forward his other claims. At the expense of the number of crystals, there are few of them. At that moment, Yulaf threw a large bag of crystals on the table. There were 300 of them there. There are labor fees, storage, management, and everything else. Whatever it is, there will definitely be no losses. The boss's eyes lit up. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The price of mana crystals is based on their availability. Even if there is money, but they will not be available, then what is the point of money? Everything. The deal was very profitable in the eyes of the boss and he bought all these crystals. Now Damien decided to ask what kind of seller is sitting in front of him. After all, he knows the market well and, accordingly, the merchants too, but he has never seen you before. Yulaf immediately began to manipulate and ask if they didn't believe him. But the boss said that of course he had no suspicions, because Miss Darren had advised him. Yulaf said that he had no desire to get acquainted with anyone and hoped that his sister would somehow support him. But Darren was still with a more interested face. Then a shocking moment came. Half an hour passed and the pill for changing the voice stopped working. Yulaf abruptly swallowed the second pill and said that it was no longer worth paying attention. Thus, they left this office faster, since the boss did not want to detain anyone. Finally, she and Darren were left alone and she began to ask Yulaf how he knew her younger brother. She did not even realize that he was standing in front of her. She was interested in all this with the aim that if suddenly a quality product had just been sold, then she was able to deal with it, otherwise the company would blame her. And in general, this is an absurd behavior on the part of Yulaf, and in general, is this a real name? She demanded that he tell her everything. Is this all a trap? Yulaf even laughed at such insight. Do you really think that I'm a criminal and all these crystals are stolen? It's impossible. Such a quantity can only be found in the royal vault. In truth, Darren thought so, because how can you get such an amount? But she just underestimated her brother's abilities. And then a rather funny scene happens. Yulaf puts his hand on her head and says that Erun once told him that relatives are worse than enemy. But as he grew up, he realized that the only people you can rely on are family. Darren was stunned both by the words and by such impudence that an unknown man put his hand on her head. Finally, he advised her to get along with her brother. She was in wild shock from all this. Erun spent the whole evening talking about what a good deal he managed to pull off. Even considering that 1% will belong to Darren, he still has a lot of money left. He was also shocked by the words he said to his sister about the family. But Darren will never know about his true intentions. How ironic it is. Erun does not intend to tolerate childish antics from his brothers and sisters, but he does not feel hatred for them either. Right now, he is completely focused on his goals, namely to finally take revenge on Sohan. The main currency on the Yin continent is gold coins, and in the Muram world, gold pieces. So, Erun had 2,752 coins on his account, which meant that the preparations were over. Suddenly a message arrives from Sohan. Having satisfied his anger, Erun accepts it. He began to talk about how he had to work hard to get the secret art of the poisonous sect in the Heavenly Castle of Swords, but he still succeeded. Oh, how hard it was to copy a book in the library, Erun thinks to himself. He finally threw off the book. Unlike the heavenly cultivation technique that everyone in the Castle of Swords can master, only a select few can practice the chaos cultivation technique. According to the description, this book fully meets the requirements, so Half-Ale will definitely be satisfied. And then the most interesting thing begins, payment. Actually, now you can contemplate this vile nature for which Sohan is so hated. For 25 O coins, he immediately refused to sell this book and said that in the store they cost about 5,000. The technique of deception is that Sohan makes buyers worry, and then the goods are sold at an inflated price. In his previous life, he did this to earn 100 times and now he wants to avenge it. While the buyer is thinking, Sohan promises to answer all the questions of interest, if anything, help with all the difficulties in the future. However, this is called hanging noodles on his ears. Erun understands this and immediately gets down to business. What is the price after all? Somewhere 4,000 coins, for you a discount of 1,000 coins. But even so, Erun doesn't have enough for this book. Okay, it will be possible to borrow from someone for a few days. And the result is 38 O coins, because he gave 200 coins in advance, even when he made the order. Sohan said with a malicious smile that no, because he had already spent those 200 coins to get the equipment. Erun was at the peak of his anger. It turned out to be a rather difficult situation. What should I do now? Sohan does not understand why his buyer is so worried. Because he spends his client's money? Strange. Erun said he had to check with Half-Ale first to see if such a price would suit him. The young count is just in shock, because if he does not agree to this purchase, then Sohan himself will be the loser. Why is he so calm? Even after using all his privileges, he lacks 25 coins, and considering the commissions of exchange centers, it is better to throw everything on the floor than to change it there. But I had to do it, because, alas, there is no more time to wait, and do not forget about the limit. He has lost quite a lot of coins. But Erun's philosophy is very impressive. He does not hold on to money and is confident in his abilities that he will be able to earn more, with dozens of times more. The dialogue with Sohan continues. Erun said that his client agrees and 42 O coins is a good deal. Sohan was very happy. It's a pity, of course, that he doesn't even suspect what awaits him next. The deal has begun. Finally, the prey took the bait. Erun is up to something brilliant. There's no doubt about it.
Erun trapped Sohan. Despite the fact that he went into the negative, he is not upset at all. He does not feel sorry for this bastard at all. He is only looking forward to the next steps. While talking to Sohyun, he catches him while mocking him, directly revealing that he is a fraudster. Jin Seok Hyun, you are a fraudster. The man on the other side of the screen is in complete shock, wondering how Erun knows who he is. As a result, he pretends to be a fool, to which the main character responds with a provocation. Maybe we should call a third person to make sure? So he admits that he is Jin Seok Hyun after all, trying to figure out who is on the other side of the trading system. Erun warns about the promotion of his rules, to which the man tries to make a fool of himself, but the hero does not care, and he continues the conversation in the usual manner, hinting at reprisal or death. After scaring the man, Erun says all his rules, which, if not committed, end only in death. Now he demands from him his own money, which he gave in the process of the transaction, even counting the transfer tax. The main character shakes everything out of him to the last, surprised that there is more money in his account than there should be. He is also thinking of testing his theory about losing money due to suspicious actions. Returning to the conversation with his partner, he remembers about his debt, to which the man replies that he has already spent it. Erun intimidated him, after which Sohyun transferred the money to him. But the dupe does not end there and demands that the man give him some more money, exactly naming his last money. Sohyun sincerely does not understand how he knows this certain amount, only later realizing that he is a VIP. The man does not understand the purpose of the main character because he is much higher than he is in terms of level. As a result, he tries to find out something from Erun, completely failing this attempt. They bargain because Sohyun has no money left and the Duke offers to exchange martial arts instead of gold. The partner again tries to trick Erun by offering books, but nothing happens. Erun rejects the offer, offering the arts themselves, not the book's techniques of internal energy, internal cultivation and body illumination, various sword techniques. Sohyun is in complete shock, comparing it to death. The Duke gives him a choice: technicians or he will go talk to his boss. The exchange of techniques took place. And Erun promises that he will not report him yet, reminding that your life is in my hands. The man is trying to figure something out. The hero ends their conversation. He absorbs the transferred techniques, testing his strength. Talking to himself, he finds out that the sword of Kai will never compare with the aura. He continues to test his skills, even accidentally opening the silver aura, making decisions not to show his capabilities. The next moment we see Erun in the walls of the estate. The butler runs up to him, telling him that his father is looking for him. He is surprised by this news and goes to his office. Together with his father stands the overseer, the father's left hand and his shadow. Having a conversation with his father, he feels his aura, a heavy look, sees the edge of possibilities. The parent is surprised by the persistence of his son, directly saying that he knows about his trading skills and the situation with Darren. And everything turns to talking about mistakes in that situation. Using the name of Steelguards for trading. The father makes it clear that in order to trade, you need to know the person personally, so he will go to a meeting with him. Erun agrees with his father's decision, answering that he will make an appointment for him tomorrow. Later, they talk about the academy, which the hero will go to in a few days. The parent offers his help by asking about the needs of the son. But Erun doesn't ask for anything. Leaving his father's office, the supervisor catches him, asking how he found out about Miss Darren's connection with Damien's firm. To which he replies that he guessed it himself. Leaving the conversation, he notes that he needs to deal with this problem as soon as possible, remembering that he has to do something else before entering the academy. The next moment we see a system window showing crazy prices for internal cultivation. He compares a year of cultivation with the salary of a knight of the first class. Looking for more profitable deals, he finds a more or less cheap option. After receiving the goods, he absorbs it. Later in the market, he looks for yin and yang bugs, parasites. He starts a conversation with the seller to clarify information about these bugs. It seems that the person on the other side of the system is not himself, as he carries incomprehensible things. He says that yin-yang bugs will easily turn the most honest and decent person into a sad and greedy one. It is almost impossible to remove them from the body. We are transported forward in time. Erun offers one of the knights a glass with some strange liquid, but looking at the Duke's reaction, he cannot refuse him and drinks it. It turned out to be a little trap. Since you liked my drink, can I ask for a favor? You need to respond to kindness with kindness, right? The knight agrees. Eventually they move away from everyone for a more personal conversation, and Erun asks to show the aura. Talking to the main character, the knight asks why he chose him and not stronger people. Erun answers based on the feelings of overcoming the wall, knowing how to surpass himself, but this does not greatly impress the knight, and the Duke reveals his true self. The knight is surprised by this change, not believing that it is the same person, and Erun notes that the man began to get nervous. O says that all the boyish maximalism was put on, also wondering what would happen if everyone found out the truth about Mr. Knight. It turns out that all this time he was a spy of the Empire. The man-sheep pretends that he does not understand a word of everything said. But the main character decides everything by naming the spy's real name. They talk about chivalrous pride, mocking each other. Erun openly talks about the possibility of killing the interlocutor, but still the spy decided to act first. He attacks the main character, being completely confident and not expecting that this newcomer can resist him. The spy swings his sword, but Erun dodges, which surprises him very much. As a result, the Duke attacks from behind, breaking the opponent's sword, who now has no choice but to fight with his fists. Erun decides to fight with his fists too, throwing away his sword, which the spy was very surprised at, as he considered a stupid mistake. In turn, the young Duke, using his hand-to-hand combat skills, hit the enemy with all his might. The enemy, due to the impact, flies away several meters, colliding with a rock. Only now does the spy feel a clear difference in their strength. He asks who reported him. In turn, the main character shuts him up, claiming that only he can ask questions here. He asks about the true purpose of the spies, at the same time mocking the rival who did not utter a word. He is not going to tell any information. But at this moment, the main character takes out a cone with a yin larva, explaining that there was yang in the drunk drink, which probably already in his brain. Erun explains to the spy that bugs share feelings. Of course, pain too. If yin dies, yang will lose the will to live and start devouring his brain, and then the owner and the beetle will die. The spy does not believe the words of Erun, who in this case decided to show by piercing the yin with a needle through the cork. The man feels incredible pain, finally believing the main character. He tells about himself and about his goals. Erun asks what the Empire wants, to which he gets a very simple answer. The Empire is afraid of the second Rabahan. During the conversation, it is confirmed that the Emperor himself believes that all the Steelguards are in the blood. So the spy assumes that Erun's merits are a consequence of this power of blood, which the hero himself mentally refutes. Since he knows the true source of his power, the Book of Transactions of Dimensions. Erun is surprised that the Empire is still watching them. Remembering about the disappearance of his father, he realizes that the Empire may be connected with this. The fall of the Steelguards began with the disappearance of his father. The Duke had not expected this at all. The next moment we are transported to the father of our hero. He is doing developmental exercises when suddenly blood comes out of his mouth. He notices a bad condition that does not improve. Not understanding where the origins of this problem may be. While he is thinking about it, his advisor comes to him, who informs him that his son has brought a merchant with whom a meeting was scheduled. And also tells that the son found an imperial spy. Next we see a murdered spy, a beaten Erun and a merchant. The son apologizes about the murdered spy, but the father offers his son to go to the doctor and get treated, which he refuses. Erun introduces Yulaf, describing what happened. I went to Lehet to meet with Yulaf. I explained my situation, the two of us left, but something was wrong. Strange. What's the point of following a merchant? I lured the spy and asked who he was. And then he pulled out the sword. When the father asked his son how he determined that this man was a spy, Erun gave him a note on which the imperial code was written. The eldest son does not believe this, questioning everything said by his father, who is not very happy with the current situation. And in the end, he teaches him. The head of the family praises the main character, which the eldest son is not happy about. We find a dialogue between the merchant and Erun. His father seriously engaged in the treatment of his son, despite the fact that he had only a scratch. During the conversation, the merchant removes the mask, and it turns out to be a dead spy. With this mask, they even trick the Lord. The main character warned that he would take care of the mask, since he would no longer create a similar one. The man sincerely does not understand how he got all these things and skills. Later, during the dialogue, the spy asked why he was hiding his abilities. Erun replied, "What's good about showing them? I'm only in the 5th grade, and people are already uncomfortable." The man replies that because of his family, no one will dare to object to him. The hero on this one only rudely shuts him up, explaining his opinion about hiding his abilities. Do you want me to become a walking billboard and attract the attention of the Empire, after reminding in whose hands his life is in? After Erun asks about the report that the agent will send to the Empire after checking it, they decide to change the content about the main character. After finishing the conversation, the double spy leaves the room. And after that, the father comes in, who immediately asks about his condition. The son is about to get up to greet his father, but he stops him because he is worried about his physical condition. In response, the hero replies that everything is fine thanks to medications. As a result, the conversation ends and awkwardness hangs in the air, since the father has never entered his room, and they have never been very close to have light conversations. The father abruptly sits down on the bed and informs him about the spy's location. He disguised himself as a merchant from Lehet. The main character is glad that everything is going according to his plan now, not at all like in his previous life. His father thanks him for what happened, but asks him to be more careful. After all, you did a great service. But that doesn't mean I can lose my precious son to a spy. Erun is very surprised by this, because the father he knew was not friendly to him. In his previous life, he was very strict. Only now does he realize that he misunderstood his father. Continuing the conversation, the father instructs his son. Everything will be fine in your capital, but please be on your guard. And in fact, Erun is very worried about his father. He's going to change everything on his own. The next moment we see them together in front of the vault doors. Erun is very happy to get there, but his father looks disappointed because of this. Perhaps he wanted his son, like all knights, to ask him to study with him. In the end, Erun said that he didn't need gold, and he just wanted to see what was in the vault. The father, accepting this answer, leaves him alone. Passing through the external storage, he sees emergency supplies, while in the internal storage there are various treasures and unique items. Erun notices the commander's shield, a magic shield given to the family by the king, but he sincerely does not understand why such a strong person might need such a thing. When the king's motives were revealed, grandfather placed this shield in the vault. The hero reflects that his grandfather did incredible things, being a knight of mythical rank, who was also supported by society, so this award was not even close to his achievements. As a result, after thinking about it, he claims that it is impossible to sell this shield because it was presented by the king himself. But he is not very upset about these because there are cooler things. Turning around, we see his grandfather's equipment. The most prominent part of it is the Dark Sky sword. He considered putting it in the inventory, but changed his mind as it was too disrespectful. As a result, he unscheduled decided to upgrade the level of his inventory. Despite the price, he raised 2 levels and, surprised by the sharply increased price, decided to stop there. After going to the vault, he is surprised at the external arrangement, noting for himself the need for a change of scenery. After analyzing the characteristics of the sword, Erun learns that his grandfather participated in the spatial trade, since this sword is different from the swords of this system. The hero still remembers that he came for the Book of Transactions of Dimensions, which should be here. And he's going to get her first, fearing the mistakes of the past. We see how Erun can't find the book he needs. As a result, he begins to search in completely inconspicuous places, looking into all the places he can reach. So he sees some object under the bookcase. It turns out to be an ostrich egg, which he is surprised at. And also a very heavy, as if it were metal. Since he wasn't particularly interested in this egg, he put it back. As a result, his hypotheses were confirmed. There is no measurement transaction book in the repository, which means he has a single copy, and there is no such thing anymore. Now it remains for him to find the answer to the last question. How did he get into the past? And how did he start interacting with the system? And there is only one more or less logical answer: the bookmark of desires. He wished for something before he died, but he doesn't remember of all because of the overwhelming pain. There is a possibility that he asked for a second chance and also wanted to develop spatial trade. But the catch is that the bookmark fulfills only one wish, and that's what doesn't add up. Having understood nothing in the end, he decided to rejoice and not bother much, because the main thing is that he has a book of measurement transactions, and there is no other one. Then in the end he can choose something else that is in the vault. Along the way, talking about the limits, which it turns out are not, he looks at the Sword of the Dark Sky. But this is clearly overkill. As a result, he realizes that many magical items in which he was previously interested have no value for him. As a result, he thinks to take his grandfather's notes, but on the way to the bookshelf, the same ostrich egg rolls out, which Erun is very surprised because he definitely does not have legs. But then he remembers that he is in a difficult vault, but in the vault of his grandfather, who was a spatial merchant. So there may be amazing things lying here, and he definitely can't ignore them. Erun thinks that the egg is from another dimension, and he decided to check it by putting it in the inventory, checking its description and characteristics. The system shows absolutely nothing, and the main character is disappointed. Perhaps the information about the egg is not shown because of its first level, or it is from a higher dimension. And we need to find out. He activates the Eye of Providence skill. And he understands what kind of egg it is, but does not disclose it. The next moment we are transported to the moment when Erun is about to leave for the academy. He compares this day with his past life, noting how different they are. Everyone is worried about him. He is happy about these changes. Suddenly his sister comes up to him. She gives him all possible advice, clearly worried about him. During the dialogue, she gives him a bag of coins, insisting that Erun take it. In the end, he agrees, only after realizing that something is wrong. For his sake, his sister sold her ruby pendant, which she treasured very much. Erun is sitting in the carriage, looking sadly at the bag of coins. He feels uncomfortable, realizing what was done for him. The hero tries to find the reason why she could do this, considering all possible options. As a result, he assumes that his sister feels that this is her duty. He is not happy with this conclusion, but understands that he has no time to worry about it. He decides to check the system. He suddenly receives a notification about the transfer of money from Sohin. Erun is unhappy with so much money because he asked to send a large sum, not pennies. During the dialogue with the man, he decided that the interlocutor was trying to deceive him. Threatening with interest rates, he finds out that a client called Sohin. Because of him he completely forgot about the main thing. For this, the main character still changes interest rates. Gloating over him. While Erun was mocking the interlocutor in his thoughts, the man was able to find the necessary information. But it's like she's missing a part. The main character doubts the correctness of the information, but Sohin convinces him otherwise. Also during the dialogue, He tries to understand why Erun needs exactly such a technique. In response, he shuts him up, translating the topic about other information. Having solved all the issues, he simply logs out of the system without even listening to Sohyun. He takes out the martial arts book he got, but passes it to his sister, saying that he has a reason why he gives it to her, taking a promise that she will definitely read it. And the reason is that it will save the Steelguards from falling. He also did not forget to threaten his other sister. Deciding that this was enough, he went to the academy. Thinking on the road about the differences between his past and present lives, Sohyun calls him, informing him that the seller Erun needed answered him. He asks them to connect. At this time, he pulls out the same egg from the inventory. It turns out that this egg is a very strong animal that will be able to eat metal and will also be able to cause natural disasters. As a result, Sohyun connects Erun with merchants under the name of Henry. They start trading. The main character claims that he wants to buy a certain part of the manual. The seller claims that he can sell a full-fledged manual, incredibly inflating the price tag. Erun refuses, after which there is a skirmish in which Henry tries to deceive him, but in vain. So the kid puts forward his price for the part he needs. But the seller insists on his own. Erun offers a compromise, offers to buy a copy, and the seller's indignation increases. Since there is a copyright stamp on the book. As a result, Erun makes him a last offer, closing the chat system. Henry himself writes to the main character accepting the offer, trying to raise the amount. Which Erun rejects. As a result, the seller agrees. After reading the purchased manual, he learns that his not yet hatched companion has a high level, although Erun did not expect anything special. Only now he realized the full significance of the book, so he understands that the knowledge was worth it. Hatching an egg is just a beginning, its excretion will be difficult since it will need the genetic material of another organism, and this will be its important basis. Not knowing which animal to choose, Erun asks Sohyun for information. They are thinking between the blood of a 1,000-year-old iron mouth, the blood of a bloody dragon, and the bile of a 1,000-year-old bear. And the best option is the blood of a bloody fire dragon. They also have a dialogue in which it turns out that Sohyun, who bought one item, has become a little impoverished. And the main character returns the previous interest rate instead of money. As a result, Erun buys the blood of a bloody fire dragon and pours it on an egg, which immediately absorbs it. Then it remains only to wait. On the road, when the main character is meditating, the egg begins to hatch and a very cute creature appears from it. Erun cuts his palm, starting to feed the animal with his blood. This is all explained by the fact that this species does not have mammary glands, so they feed babies with the help of blood, and this is how the connection with the host will be created. Worried that the animal eats a lot, Erun decided to give it a name. Sorry. The pet doesn't like this name, but he doesn't have much choice. One of his subordinates noticed his wound, to which the main character replied that it was all just an accident. But they didn't believe him, leaving it all without further questions. In the aftermath of their conversation, it turns out that they stopped to rest. The knight noticed something strange in the bushes and wanted to attack, but Erun stopped him, and Sari flew out. The man wonders since when his owner has an animal. As a result, Javis gets acquainted with Sari, and he is touched by this little animal. But she is not at all happy to have contact with people other than Erun. Continuing the trip, the guy is thinking about the further stages of raising the animal. The next stage is a strong source of energy, for example, elixirs, but they are terribly expensive. So he needs a lot of money. He is thinking about many options that can bring a good profit. Erun chooses the subject, the inner return. A product that has a good demand. It can be sold for a decent price. Reasoning about this, he thinks about reselling for a lot because that's how he can get an incredibly large amount of money. But there is one problem, the system will not allow this since it has set certain time limits, which is a pity. The system sends a notification about receiving an achievement for using a huge amount of gold. As a reward, he receives an average amount of coins. Since he has money now, Erun buys all sorts of items that are similar in properties to elixirs but are individual ingredients, so they do not have a limit on sale. Having bought a large number of these items, he arranged a resale, and with the proceeds he bought excellent elixirs for Saris. Thanks to this, she is slowly growing up, so she has fangs. We are also told about two things. The importance of the animal's fur, because it depends on the basis of the creature, and that after the animal changes its fangs and wool, the baby's stage will end. Having spent most of his profit on feeding Sari, he is glad that the baby stage is over because now elixirs were not needed. He also uses a certain amount of coins to buy the items he needs. One of these is a clean body. It is adapted for top cleaning and appearance support. Since something may depend on the latter. A dialogue begins with one of his knights, in which the main character learns that there is half a day left before arrival, which he is a little surprised at because trading takes quite a lot of time. But Erun decided not to stop there. The next moment we are already in the city. All the knights are standing in front of a huge hotel that Erun has specially rented for everyone. He also orders everyone to put themselves in order, giving a certain amount of savings, saying that they need to relax a little, although they are not here for that at all. They should be contacted soon. So they decided to wait, combining it with rest. The knights from the squad are trying to ask Javis to have a drink with them, to which the main character threatens him with death, since he needed this man in a sober state. As a result, the knights lag behind the captain, and when he returns to the table, there is a collision with a waitress who actually wanted to steal an important thing. Javis and Erun are standing outside, deciphering the cipher. Having found out where the meeting with the informant will take place, the knight claims that he will go to it himself. But the main character does not trust the spy, so he asked for a report to be sent to the Empire for verification. After checking the report, he lets Javis go, but decides to follow him quietly. They use invisibility. After following their subordinate, they come to the house. In order to listen better, the main character increases his perception, so he hears much more than usual. So he hears the dialogue of some man with Javis. He gives him information about our main character, also notifying him of the death of Gilbert, Javis's partner. But suddenly the spy realizes that the academy to which they are going is very far from the city in which they are now. In fact, this man is making fun of our companion, so the main character exhales with relief. As soon as our spy leaves the room, a conversation arises in the room in which Javis's loyalty is discussed, since it is strange that the agent is alive and the binder is dead. And at the moment, Erun learns new useful information. It turns out Jarvis has a family that seems to be held hostage by the Empire. Now there is nothing surprising in his actions. As a result, the main character stops jumping on roofs and descends to the ground, removing all skills. On the way to the hotel, he hears some kind of hubbub of an incipient fight, and it turns out that these are his subordinates. They begin to argue with each other, almost starting to fight, but they are stopped in time by a man, Derek, who is a knight of Marquis Albert. A little later Kunz Albert, the Marquis himself, approaches him. This man tortured the main character in a previous life. He remembers this time with hatred because this man took everything from him now. Looking at these two, Erun is filled with hatred. He barely restrains himself from killing them. He restrains himself only on the thought that their death should not be long and as painful as possible. He will return to them all the pain that he felt. Having calmed his knights, Marquis Albert questions the knights, touching on the purpose of their arrival in Acadio. Then Erun comes out. He is completely calm, which surprises the Marquis very much that he was somewhat scared. During their dialogue, it turns out that their goal is exactly the same as Erun's. They just wanted to stop by. The Marquis also wanted to apologize for the turmoil that occurred between the knights. But Kunz Albert interrupts him, explaining that it is unnecessary because they did nothing. And the reason for the fight is in front of them. The man understands that if everything goes on like this, there will be a conflict, so he tries to take his master away by shifting the topic of conversation. But Kunz does not want to forget about the situation that has arisen. As a result, Erun goes on the offensive, mocking Kunz, but this man omits him, explaining that his title is less than a marquis. But the main character just laughs in his face, as this is a rather idiotic opinion. Erun asks other knights about what happened. So we find out that the Marquis Knights ridiculed the Steelguards, asked how much longer they would milk the achievements of Rabahan. The main character cannot ignore this because he inherited a heart of steel. The Steelguard family is a steel heart that protects Navro, so they will always fight for their people, and the blood of those who laugh at them will be shed. So he asks if he got it right. The Marquis Knight is very surprised by the behavior of the main character. Even though he is the same age as his master, he behaves much more mature, choosing the right words during such an important and caustic conversation. He admired the blood of the Steelguards. Since there was no way out, the Marquis Knight hit first one of his subordinates and then all the others for defaming the name of their family. This is the best option to solve this situation since he retreated but did not spoil his reputation. Looking at everything that is happening, Kunz ran off to sleep, but the main character says that he accepts such apologies, to which the Marquis reacts angrily but continues on his way. All his subordinates leave with him. At this moment Javis arrives, who asks with obvious interest about what happened, but in response receives only dissatisfied glances. So he asks for forgiveness and for what he does not know. The next moment we see Marquis Kun's Albert dining, who is dissatisfied with the outcome of that conflict. He was put in his place by the worst of the sons of Stigrid, who has a very terrible reputation. As a result, the knight tells his master about the reason for his act at that moment. But in response, he orders to watch them, but finds out that they left in the morning. That evening, while the Marquis is sleeping peacefully, someone enters his room through the window, covering his mouth with his palm in time. It turns out to be Erun, who is on the verge of not killing Kunz. The Marquis is very surprised by what is happening now. Erun squeezes his jaw with incredible force, pinning him to the bed. Erun says that he thought for a long time about how exactly he could take revenge on the Marquis. "I would like to return my feelings to you." He will be happy to watch how he will suffer from pain, suffering and breaking inside. But when he saw Marquis Kunz's eyes that night, he changed his mind. His eyes were burning with envy. Everything will be exactly the same as in his previous life. He will pursue him, trying to destroy the Steelguards, taking everything of value. But that's not going to happen. "You're going to die today." At this moment we see a flashback from his past life. At that moment, Kunz took everything from Erun because he hates his whole family and especially Erun himself. He envied him because he is not worse than him. But he was greeted everywhere with a smile. And so now he's better than the main character in everything. After all, he is now nobody, without lands. Here we return to the present. Since the Marquis does not know the past, he does not understand at all what this kid is talking about, but he is sure of one thing: he will really kill him. In fear, the Marquis tries to remove his hand to tear his hand from his mouth. Erun lets him go with a very bloodthirsty smile. Kunz tries to call his knight, but he can't do anything. His voice has disappeared. The main character mildly explains that he used pressure points and by clicking on them blocked your mouth. Erun is very upset that he can't put the Marquis's face in the frame. The Marquis is very scared of this and tries to escape to the next room to Dirk, but Erun is faster than Kunz, so he manages to attack, thereby pushing him away from the door. He's laughing at this fool. The main character uses pressure points again, thereby immobilizing him. By putting him at the table, he gives him the opportunity to move. He gives him a parchment and advises him to take a pen. The Marquis resists him, and Erun in response cuts off one of his hands without any hesitation.